All right, 2014 Volkswagen Tiguan, and we're changing a right front wheel bearing. I believe it's the same for both sides, for front, left and right. Got to get the wheel off, 17 millimeter wheel bolts, and you'll probably find you got these little plastic covers that are stuck over the wheel bolt. I just use a 90-degree pick and slip in behind and just pull them out. Seen videos you could use compressed air, but that's what I do to get them off. So do that, and let's get this wheel off. All right, we got to take this set screw out of the brakes. It is a T27 Torx. Now, hopefully it comes out for you. Beauty. Sometimes these get seized in there. You can use a tool called a hammer driver. It's a screwdriver looking thing that you can put a socket on the end of and use a hammer. And it turns while it drives into the screw. It works really well for getting those out. Now that we got that out, we're gonna just grab a small pry bar. You could use a small flathead screwdriver too. We need to get this spring off of here. And then I guess actually we could just take the whole caliper assembly off. This one's like really rusted on there. It's been sitting forever. So let's actually just do that. It'll be so much easier. If you wanted to, you could just take the caliper off and then the pads and then the caliper bracket. I'll let you know what size tools you need to do that, but I'm just gonna take the whole assembly off together as one. And it looks like we're gonna need 21 mil socket. Let me go find it one second. All right, we got ourselves a little hook here. These are Mueller Keps. Good for hanging up brake calipers. And 21 mil flex socket. You could just use a ratchet and a socket or whatever. I guess I almost should have taken that off before removing the bolt, because now like the whole disc is gonna want to come off. But that's all good. No problem. We could just hang the whole thing. This disc is junk anyways. Yeah, it sucks with the rust ridge that's on there, but make sure you got your steel toe boots on. Those are junk. Did that sort of backwards, didn't I? We'll hang this up. Okay, now we should have access to our bolts. We've got, I believe it's 4 bolts. Yeah, we got 4 bolts. They're inverted triple square. I'll figure out what size here in a second, but we need to get this axle away from those bolts so that we can get in there and take them out. And we've got a big triple square. I believe it's 14 mil.
12 pointers, triple square.
12 point.
Same
12
thing.
point, sorry.
Same,
12 point.
same
Yeah.
thing.
All right, so I was completely wrong. It was a 24 mil, 12 point. Looks like that. Take this bolt out, just like so. And now this axle should kind of pop out of there. If I remember correctly, It's not like a full pass-through axle. It's like a half stub. Let me just try to turn this. This might help. Yeah. Okay, seems to be as far as I can get it back without, it doesn't completely come out, but we've definitely gained enough room to be able to get in there and do that. So I'm gonna see about maybe wedging something in there just to keep it out of my road until I get in there and stick my ratchet in, break those all loose. At this point in time, you could spray some penetrating oil on the ends of these. I don't really think it's gonna do much, but these bottom ones, the studs stick out a little bit, so a little bit of lube goes a long way. All right, I've come to the realization that I need to get the axle out of the way so that I can get the bolts out. No big deal. We're gonna just remove this ball joint, undo the ball joint from the control arm so that I can take this out of the way. They're 3 16mm nuts. Those are some hot nuts. Okay. So now I should be able to move this. Okay, that's out of the road. Okay, now we got full access to those. The triple square socket that you're gonna need is, I don't even know, 12 mil, I'm gonna say. I don't know, these blue point sockets don't even give you a size on them. I'm guessing it's this. It says 12 on the end. That's what we're going with. Now these bolts, they have a taper to them. They're like a special bolt, so don't wreck them because they're not just some regular bolt that you can put back in it from your bolt pile. So. Okay, there's two. I'm gonna sneak in here somehow underneath of this. I'm just using my impact gun. I'm cheating. Yeah, maybe I do this one, sorry. This axle is in my way. Sorry, I gotta go this way. There's three. One more for the win. How am I going to do this? Can I turn this? Axle hitting. No. Hold on. I think so. Boom. Bearing comes right out. Somebody's had this bearing replaced before.
Came out too easy.
It came out too easy. You can just tell too, the inside's like painted black. That's whatever bearing manufacturer that is, it's cheap. Obviously it didn't last long, but it's got play in it. Yeah, I don't know. Anyhow, we got a SKF bearing that we're putting in it, so they're good quality. I like SKF. Part number for you. Then all we gotta do now is just make sure that this surface is all nice and clean in here. You can see all the rusty dust and stuff like that. I'm gonna clean that all out, make sure it's nice and clean in here. And also this surface as well. You can see like where the bearing sits up against. We wanna make sure that that's nice and flush and clean. And then now's the time too, if you wanna clean your backing plate and get all the rust scale and stuff like that off and paint it or whatever, now's the time to do it because you got everything apart, right? So get that all prepped up. I'm just gonna go grab my little roll lock 90-degree grinder and we'll get this thing tidied up. Okay, one thing to keep in mind is there are your wheel speed sensors right there, sort of integrated into the knuckle, that little black plastic thing. Just watch when you're cleaning, you don't damage that. Very important, otherwise you're gonna have ABS and traction lights on. Also, there's this little drainage hole that's right there. Just make sure it's clean. Any sort of water or anything that gets in there is gonna probably go through that hole. Now at this point in time, we're ready to put the bearing in. Up to you whether you want to paint that or like spray it with oil to keep it from rusting again. Just keep in mind, if you do spray it with oil, dirt and stuff has a tendency to get all stuck in the oil. And yeah, we got a magnet back here, gets glued on. So I'm just gonna leave it clean and dry for now. I know there's still some rust on there. I'm not gonna get picky with it. So we're pretty much ready to stick this thing in there. The bolt pattern, I believe, is the same top and bottom. Like, it doesn't matter if you have it in this way or if you have it in this way. Pretty sure it's symmetrical. And the bolts are also the same length as well. Same length and size, so you can mix and match, doesn't matter. You just go in, hand start all of our bolts. We don't want to.
All this hardware should be replaced though, right?
Yeah, as per the service manual from Volkswagen, all the hardware needs to be replaced that you take off. So all 4 of these bolts, your main axle bolt, your lower ball joint nuts, they want you to replace everything. It's all a one-time use thing. So screw that, we're not replacing that. I don't got the money for all that. Yeah, completely up to you. Like I say, it's torque to yield fastener. So you tighten it down to a certain tightness and then turn it an additional X amount of degrees, which stretches the bolt. And when you take it out, the bolt's stretched now, so you really can't tighten it back down properly. However, I've been doing this trade a long time. Haven't really had any issues. I'm not saying you should do that, but I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, do as I say, not as I do. Reuse at your own risk. Okay, so here's the torque specs for everything that we've taken apart. This one here that's highlighted, that's the bolt, the 4 bolts that we're putting in now. So you're gonna tighten them to 70 Newton meters with an additional 90-degree turn. So that's, for those of you that don't know degrees, it's 1/4 slice of the pie. Then we've got ball joints, depending on whether you've got aluminum or stamped sheet steel control arms. We have the steel ones, so that's going to be 100 Newton meters. If you have an aluminum control arm, you're going to be 60 Newton meters. And then the drive axle to wheel hub, that's the big bolt. It's a little confusing because there's 2 different style bolts, one with ribs and one without ribs. Ours is the one without the ribs. 200 Newton meters plus a 180-degree rotation. And if yours is with the ribs, it's 70 Newton meters with a 90-degree rotation. And as you can see, all of the hardware listed here says use new nuts, use new bolt. So that's all. I'm doing this job a long time. I know when tight's tight.
So these ones are 70 Newton meters plus 90 degrees.
Yep. Okay. All right, we've got these 4 bolts all tightened down to the torque spec. Now we're just installing our axle shaft. We just line our splines up and slip that in there. And now we're ready to push down on our control arm here, I think. We gotta get our ball joint studs lined up. I may need to turn this. I'm gonna turn the other wheel. Hopefully that got us kind of close. Just like that. Get some nuts. Throw those on. Nice and rusty. I'm gonna go get the torque wrench and we'll torque those down. Torque these down. This one is for the stamped sheet metal control arm, so 100 Newton meters. Okay. Now we'll stick this bolt back in there.
Show them the ribs, or the non-ribs.
Right. This one's threaded all the way down.
And there's ribs on here.
Right, on
There's
this.
not.
This one does not have them, but some bolts might have them. Is your bolt ribbed? Okay, now we can tighten this thing down. I already forget the torque number. I guess we could.
200 plus 90.
Yeah, I might. Trying to think. I think I'm gonna put the disc on. We'll put the wheel bolts in it, put the set screw in it, and then put the caliper on. I might jam like a screwdriver in between the fins of the disc so that the wheel can't spin. Stick it right in there, and then that way we can torque this down because this is gonna want to spin, right? So. Okay, if you're reusing your old disc, just make sure that the inside mating surface that sits against the wheel hub is clean. Because now we've got a fresh surface of the wheel bearing. We don't want to have any rust or dirt, anything that gets sandwiched in between there. It might throw the disc off of center and it may run untrue, which could cause a brake pulsation. So make sure that that's clean. Installed the set screw, just snug. It doesn't have to be super tight, just snug. Once the wheel is on there, the screw can't fall out. So you can also put some anti-seize on there too if you want to, because these things have, people just tighten them down way too tight and then you try to take them out and you either snap your bit or those snap off or they round out. And they're a pain, so just nice and easy on it. Now we're ready to stick our caliper brake assembly back on. These discs are getting changed out shortly. We'll be making another video on that. So don't worry about these. I know they look horrific. So these off. We can get our bolts started in here. Hopefully.
this wheel.
Okay, now we can stick a screwdriver in here. And that should work to hold that. And then grab our torque wrench. $200, you said?
200 and 180.
200 newton meters?
Yeah. And then 180 degrees.
Okay. Crank this thing up. $200. And then we gotta go degrees. So it wants us to 0, so we just let that sit still. And we can set it. $180. Okay, I'm going with that. That feels tight as fuck. Sorry. I'm gonna say that's probably good. I know we only had 71 degrees on there, or 71 degrees left. I think we only went 71 degrees. Yeah, I just don't want to have that bolt just snap off. So that's pretty good, I'm gonna say. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyhow, probably tighter than what the impact gun put it on there at, but yeah, our bearing didn't come with a new bolt. This is how these things go. If you're a Volkswagen owner, Audi owner, you know, new hardware. It's one of those things. Anyways, I'll probably get a new bolt for it in the meantime, but at least for video purposes, now you know what you're gonna have to turn it to, tighten it down to, etc. So if you just tighten this down to whatever, if you're like, ah, screw it, like I'm just gonna tighten it down until it's tight. The only negative of that is the bearing life may not be to 100% of its potential. Your bearing might fail or wear out prematurely just because tightening down this bolt, it preloads the bearing. There's the construction of it, it gets pulled together and it loads that bearing up. And it needs a certain amount of load in order to achieve optimal efficiency.
Yeah, to spin at its easiest, like.
Right, is rolling resistance.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyhow, I'm sure it'll live a long life, but that's how we do that. I don't know what the torque spec is for those 21 mil bolts. All right, so here's our brake bracket mounting bolts. That's the two 21 millimeter bolts. You can see it's 200 Newton meters. It's about 150 foot-pounds, roughly. I think that's what it converts to. So we're gonna go over there, tighten them down. They are, of course, one-time use bolts. It seems like that's the thing with this Volkswagen. Any Volkswagen, it's like, once you take a bolt out, you gotta replace it with a new one, which is ridiculous. But hey, no, I didn't design it, so go tighten. Oh, I already tightened them down that much with the gun. Huh. All right, guess we're ready to put the wheel on. Just, I would say, spin the wheel. Make sure that the backing plate isn't like interfering with the disc, anything like that. Check things over, make sure your brake hose isn't twisted, everything's routed properly. We want everything to work good and be safe, right? The last thing, I guess, is make sure that the surface, the outer mating surface of the disc and the back of your wheels are nice and clean. We don't want any corrosion or anything like that. We can see we got corrosion on there. That's gonna need to be cleaned, as these tires are just completely ready to blow out. I'm talking about safety. But that's pretty much it. We'll throw the wheel on and probably torque those down to like 110. To look at the spec, I'm gonna say 110. Do it. Yep, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna cut the video here because I'm gonna mount some tires now for this thing. So if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. Like I said, do as I say, not as I do. Hopefully you liked the video. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more content, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, we're gonna torque these down to 120 Newton meters.